12 ways to build a professional network as an entrepreneur. I can't stress enough the value of building a professional network if you're an entrepreneur. And I say this backward looking because I regret not focusing on doing it more effectively sooner myself. I've been the typical lone wolf entrepreneur. And I always wanted to feel self-sufficient, and so I never prioritized building my network, and I didn't honestly think it mattered. I felt as though I was good enough to be able to get all the things done I needed to get done. I could hire people as I needed them, but colleagues and peers and other people in a professional network, I neglected to see the value in that. But the truth is, I actually lost out on a lot of opportunities. I made a lot of mistakes, and I had far more struggles than I should have. And I also missed out developing meaningful relationships with kindred spirits. You know, it's all because I did too much alone. I believed I could do it all myself. I didn't think I needed anybody else. I pride myself on my own self-reliance, but unfortunately to this point, it was to my detriment, because what I've realized is as I've had challenges and as I've faced struggles, some of the darkest times and most difficult things I had to work through, the way that I figured them out wasn't by myself, but it was actually by reaching out to other people and asking them for advice or asking them if they had ever experienced it. And to my shock and unfortunate dismay, a lot of times they had answers that were pretty easy and right there, but I couldn't see them because I was so stuck in my situation. And so if I had just been a better networker, if I had just built a better network and made it more a priority to network with other people, it isn't that I didn't want to necessarily, it's that I felt like I could do it alone and I felt like I had too much to do all the time. So I always looked at it as sort of a nice thing to do if I had an opportunity, but really the thing I needed to do was focus on getting stuff done. And I can tell you, I can promise you, and I hope you listen, that's a mistake. It's always more important to build a network and to have that as a resource. It doesn't mean one or the other. We don't need to sacrifice our entire business to do it, but we need to make sure that we build a network, because when we do that, we're connected with other people, which by itself, just the connection alone, in study after study, has shown to be one of the biggest secrets to happiness in life. It really is. And the business benefits from learning how to solve problems quickly that others have already been through, unlocking creative ideas for growth, and partnering for win-win synergies. Those are all the cherries on top of the sundae. So building a professional network as an entrepreneur is absolutely crucial for gaining support, finding mentors, securing partnerships, and accessing opportunities. So we should all be doing it all the time. So let's talk about a few ways we can make this happen if it isn't something that comes natural to us. The first thing we could do is we can attend networking events. By attending industry conferences, workshops, seminars, local networking events, we're going to meet other entrepreneurs. We may meet other people in our industry. We may meet other people in similar industries or in our same geographic location. We're going to meet professionals, and we're also going to meet potential collaborators. So these are all people that we could potentially do business with. They're all people we could potentially support each other and help each other. We may have joint venture opportunities, but at a minimum, we're going to start to build a support network of people that we can reach out to, that we have something in common with, and that we've actually had some face-to-face time with. Face-to-face is by far the best and most effective way to meet if possible. But obviously, in lieu of that, it's still better to do other things. We can also join professional organizations. Becoming a member of relevant industry associations, Chamber of Commerce, or entrepreneurial groups. Again, these are all things that are either going to be geographically close to us or functionally close to what we do. And so they're going to host networking events. They're going to provide valuable resources for entrepreneurs. Now, some of it obviously is sales stuff. They'll have people come in and present things that you can buy or that you can do for your business. But the more valuable thing there is the connection with other people. The ability to add someone to your Rolodex and know that if you have an issue, you can reach out. If they have an issue, they can reach out. hopefully we can help each other and everybody gets to a higher level of success because of it. We can utilize social media. I mean, social media is there. It's, there's platform after platform, and it isn't all just, cute cat and baby pictures. Some of it is actual business stuff that's going on, especially on platforms like LinkedIn. But we can use LinkedIn, we can use Twitter. Sometimes there are industry-specific forums on these or groups. So we can go onto Facebook and we can search for groups, and it can be groups in our area of entrepreneurs. It can be groups in our functional area. It can be groups of entrepreneurs at our size or of our gender or religion or whatever we want to go with. Wherever we think we can build the most synergy with another group of people, that's the most important thing. We don't all have to be in the same business. We don't all have to be at the same level. But if we're all in the entrepreneurial game and we're all experiencing that journey, we've all sort of been through and are going through similar things over and over again. So it's a really valuable way to be able to connect with other people who can help us, and we can also help in return. So we're going to be able to find professionals in our field. We can share insights, we can participate in discussions, and reach out to people that we admire or want to collaborate with. There's nothing wrong with admitting to somebody that you admire them, you look up to them, you respect them, or that you're looking to do some collaboration. The important thing about this is, as we talk about relationship building, there's two main real important points. One, this isn't a race to check boxes on a spreadsheet. It's not a race to build as big a network as we can. It's a really important point. It's not about how big the network is. It's about how connected we are to it. That's a really important distinction. We can have a massive network, but if they're all people that wouldn't even recognize us when we reach out to them, that isn't going to be really helpful. They're not going to be wanting to help us if they don't even know who we are. And we also need to be proactive and active in reciprocating. We need to be able to offer help. If somebody's always reaching out, and we're the one who's always watching the threads go by and never responding, it's going to be hard then to reach out to somebody later and say, hey, I know I ignored all your other requests, but now I need something. Can you help me? We need to foster real relationships. Building genuine relationships is super important. We want to focus on building authentic relationships rather than just collecting contacts. It's very easy to get caught in the idea of it's a game to get as big a network as we can get. But time after time after time, we've seen that this doesn't really matter. Whether it's email marketing, whether it's social media marketing, there are people with tiny little lists and networks that have explosive influence over them. And then there are these people with gigantic networks that can barely get anyone to respond. Because it isn't the size of the network, it's the quality of the relationships within it. And so we want to take the time to get to know people. We can be selective. There may be some people that we're like, okay, we met them, we'll put them on the Rolodex and leave them there. And I'm not going to ignore them, but it's not a priority for me. I don't see a lot of synergy. We don't think alike. We don't have exactly the same ideas, whatever. But there are going to be some of those people that just strike the chord with you and you feel like, yes, we're somebody that even if we weren't in business, even if we weren't colleagues in this regard, maybe we'd hang out. Maybe we'd go out for a drink or go to a ball game or, whatever, and go golfing. So those are all kinds of things that we can be selective about who we get to know well. But it's far more important to develop a few really good relationships than a ton of really weak ones. Take the time to get to know people, understand their needs and challenges. So when they present a problem, we can speak to it intelligently and not like someone who doesn't have any idea who they are, so they don't feel valued at all. And we can find ways to support them. The interesting thing and dynamic about this is not only does it help them because we're providing insight, but our relationship with the information changes too when we become the teacher, for lack of a better word, or the person, the mentor who's providing the advice, as opposed to needing the advice. And so it creates a different relationship with our own understanding of whatever the topic is or the challenge is or whatever. Super, super valuable. So we absolutely want to be able to do that. We want to offer value. Relationships are based on two-way communication, two-way value exchange. We've all had relationships in our lives where we feel as though the other person is, if we really think about it, the scale is tipped. Most often we think of people where we give, and they take. But for some of us, we probably are in situations where we have friends or relationships that are the opposite, where we don't give a lot, but we take a lot, and it's not really a balanced relationship. It's hard for people to feel good about relationships when they don't feel like what they're doing is reciprocated. Even if they don't articulate it, even if they don't say it, it's harder for them to then be as invested in the relationship because they feel as though if they needed something, we wouldn't be there for them. So it's really important to offer value. It also just makes us feel better about ourselves. If we can share something that we know that we've learned, I mean, that's great. It builds our own self-esteem. It helps them. It makes us feel better. And it actually raises our reputation. So provide value to our network by sharing whatever expertise we've got, offering whatever assistance we can, making introductions. If we know people that maybe they don't know each other and they don't even know about each other, but we know it would be a valuable relationship, we could probably get by without saying anything. But the right thing to do is to proactively let them each know and get them introduced. If it doesn't work, we're off the hook. We're not responsible for making them make a deal. But if there's ways that they can help each other or they might like each other and benefit from each other's, in each other's network, we want to foster that. We want to encourage that, and we would hope that people would do that for us too. Being helpful and generous can lead to reciprocity and ultimately strengthen our relationships. I've felt, ironically and interestingly, closer to people, not so much when I've asked them for advice and they've shared it with me, but the opposite. When someone trusted me enough to come to me to ask for help or advice, and then I provided that actually made me feel closer to them than when it was the reverse. So it's kind of funny how that works, but I think it's really true, and I think it's pretty universal. We can attend workshops and seminars. We can participate in workshops, seminars, training programs. Again, we may or may not need the actual training, but I know, speaking from my own experience in the digital marketing industry, we have a lot of events where there are conferences, and there will be some keynote speakers and some speakers that get up there, they say their thing, they give some education, and they pitch a package. That's all fine and good. There's content there, there's stuff to buy if you want to buy it. But the real value in those places is usually in the back of the room or out in the hall or at the happy hour. That's when everyone's guards are down, no one is selling, and we're basically just getting to know each other. And oftentimes it's off-the-cuff conversations, and they can sometimes spark and lead to lifelong or long-term relationships. In fact, I actually met a partner that I worked with for 4 years. We did joint product launches for 4 years at an event. We met at an event. We ended up spending a lot of the weekend together just talking. We realized by the end of the weekend we had a lot in common, and we had complementary skill sets. The thing that he was really good at, I wasn't. The thing that I was really good at, he wasn't. So we decided at that moment that we'd start to work together, and that was a partnership that lasted 4 years. And we decided to go our separate ways on friendly terms. We just each had other things we wanted to pursue, but it was a really profitable and beneficial relationship. And it took a lot of stress off of me because I didn't have to do things I didn't want to do, and it was allowed him to get more stuff done faster. So these events provide opportunities to learn from experts for sure. So, if the speaker on the stage is good, it's worth listening to, but also to connect with like-minded individuals, and that's where the real juice is. We can also join online communities. It's surprising how many forums are still in existence, or Slack channels, Facebook groups, things like that. A lot of these things, even though the traditional forum is sort of antiquated and not as many people use them anymore, you've got Facebook groups, you've got Reddit forums, you've got Slack channels. There are even, I think, Skype channels now, and WhatsApp as well, where entrepreneurs gather to share knowledge, ask questions, and offer each other support. We can get feedback on products that we want to do, or thoughts about marketing, or if somebody's better at one particular kind of advertising or promotion than we are, they can offer their advice. So it helps us jump that learning curve and get to success a lot faster with a lot fewer headaches. I wish I had done this. I beat my head against the wall so many times for things, only to realize I was arm's length away from an expert who I could have just asked and they would have helped me. I mean, what a joke. That was my own foolishness. We can volunteer. Volunteering for industry events, conferences, community initiatives, obviously things that are more related to entrepreneurship make more sense than just volunteering at the food shelf or whatever. But any kind of volunteering still connects us with people. It also allows us to give back, gives us a purpose, builds our esteem in the community, and allows us to meet people in an environment that's non-threatening, and nobody's there for anything to gain, right? So it's an environment where it's neutral, where we can get to know people without them thinking we have an agenda, without us trying to sell anything or being sold. We're just there helping other people out and meeting colleagues, and hopefully some of those relationships, if we have similar sensibilities because we're both volunteering, maybe there's some real synergy there that we can get a hold of. Or maybe somebody we're volunteering to help is somebody that has an idea or something that we might want to get involved with. So it's a win-win all the way around. It provides opportunities to meet new people, showcase our skills, and all of those things are super important. We can also invest in mentorship. We can seek out mentors who have experience in our industry. I'm a huge believer in mentors, which is ironic since I never really had one. It's actually the reason I started the podcast. I want to be the mentor that I never had, because being an entrepreneur can be lonely. Being an entrepreneur can be difficult. It can be really challenging, and there can be really rough days. And sometimes if we're all alone, it's hard to know whether to keep going, how to keep going, how do we keep moving despite the fact that we feel like we just want to cuddle up in a ball and put on the TV and forget about our lives. So the fact is, if they have experience in our industry or they've successfully navigated the entrepreneurial journey already, they can give us valuable guidance, support, and introductions to their own network. They can also show us it can be done. And there's a difference between thinking you could do something and seeing that it can be done. When there's a shift in the way our mind works, if we think about this with the 4-minute mile, conventional wisdom was, believe it or not, your body would die. Somebody might theoretically be able to run a 4-minute mile, but your body would be so depleted from the extreme exercise that you literally would collapse and die after you ran a 4-minute mile. Obviously, that's ridiculous, but that's what people thought until Roger Bannister did it. It took decades for anybody to ever do it. As soon as he did it, within a year, I think there were 4 or 5 other people that did it. What, they all trained at the same level? No. They had the belief because they saw somebody else did it. It can be done, so they believed they could do it, and that's what allowed them to do it. And that's exactly what a mentor does for us. We also need to follow up. This is really important. There's a lot of opportunities to initially meet people. And we can have a nice conversation. We can exchange a business card, have a beer, whatever it is, right? Get to know somebody, and it's great. Then we go back to our lives. The business card gets shuffled into the desk, and we forget all about it. That relationship is 10% of what it should be, could be, and is worth, right? Because the fact of the matter is, they probably won't even remember us when we reach out 6 months later, when we realize, oh, geez, I want to connect. After we meet somebody, and there's somebody new, we want to follow up, and we want to do it with a personalized message or an email that expresses our gratitude for the connection and the desire to want to continue the conversation. If we can put in something personal, so they know it isn't some form letter that we just fire off to every business card we collected, that's far more valuable. And that will also strike a chord with other people. They will be touched by the fact that we remembered it, and that will inspire them to want to connect with us. The right people. The people who aren't interested in networking will forget about us, and that's fine because that's not going to work anyway. Maintaining regular communication is the key to nurturing relationships. It's not about one time. Even if it's a really good interaction, if it's once, that's not enough. We have to keep following up. We can host our own events. We can even host our own networking event, our workshop or webinar. When we bring together professionals in our industry, in our niche, in our area, that is super powerful because we're the catalyst. We're the ones doing it. So everybody gets to know us through this process. It's scary a little bit trying to organize an event, but it can help us establish ourselves as a thought leader also and expand our network. We also want to stay active and engaged. Consistency is the key in networking. So once we've got the relationships, that's the hard part. The easy part is to make sure that we continually stay engaged. Put a note on our calendar. Every week, reach out to Joe. Every week, reach out to Sally, whatever. Stay active and engaged with our regular network by attending events, participating in discussions, and keeping in touch. Doesn't have to be anything big. Just a quick little note. Hey, saw this thing today, it reminded me of you. Just wanted to pass this along, whatever. Clip an article, whatever it is. By implementing these strategies, we can gradually build a strong and supportive professional network that will benefit us and our entrepreneurial endeavors in the long run. And that's ultimately really important. Those are all ways that we could use and start to grow our network. We could use any or all, but the important thing is that we do it proactively, right? So we're doing it by design. The takeaway here is that business, like life, is a team sport. We can't do it or do it to the level of success we should alone. If we have a win-win mentality and are looking out for opportunities to network and build relationships with people, we can create a network in which we all support each other, share ideas, collectively problem solve, and partner to achieve greater results. The benefits to our businesses and entrepreneurial ventures is awesome. Ironically, though, the biggest benefit of a network is actually the amazing people we meet and the relationships we develop that give us a richer, fuller, and more fulfilling life, too.